everybody, and welcome to my kitchen once again. Today we're making what's called Spinach Paratha, and a paratha is very similar to roti. For those of you who don't know what roti is, roti you could like to Mexican flatbread. So the twist today is we're using fenugreek. In Hindi this would be called methi. And you could get fenugreek, a fresh bunch of fenugreek at a good grocery store, definitely at an Indian grocery store. Otherwise, if you're going to a Western store, it would have to be a pretty good one, well stocked, likely. So let's get started. The first step is to make the dough for the paratha. What I have in this bowl is 2 cups of whole wheat flour. If you go to an Indian store to buy whole wheat flour, it would be referred to as atta. A-T-T-A. So 2 cups of whole wheat flour. To this, I'm adding a 1/4 cup of chickpea flour. And this, again, you could also get at an Indian store. So just put that in. Okay. The next ingredient I'm adding is 1 teaspoon of salt. This is 3 cloves of shredded garlic. Okay. Pretty much I'm leaving the liquids for last. So the yogurt and the water and the oil. Maybe hold off on that. This is half a teaspoon of grated ginger. And I'm going to put in half a teaspoon of turmeric, which is very, very good for you. And it will give a nice color to your dish. I'm also going to put in, now I'm going to put in half a teaspoon of red chili powder. Feel free to put more or less depending on how spicy or not spicy you like things. So half a teaspoon of red chili powder. Right? Let's move that out of the way before I knock it over and make a mess. And then a pinch of sugar, so like less than a 1/4 teaspoon, very little. Just for show. Some sugar. Okay. I bought 1 bunch of fenugreek from the grocery store, washed it, dried it, chopped it, and blended it. If you don't want to go through all that hoop jumping, you can buy fenugreek frozen. So just buy 1 bag of frozen fenugreek, put it in your chopper, blend it up, and this is what you should end up with. And so it's kind of like a pesto. If you want to leave it more choppy and you don't want it as smooth, that's fine too. You can do that. So we put in the fenugreek. I'm going to put in my oil. I have here 2 tablespoons of oil. Now I tend to use my hands for everything. I have a spatula sitting here next to me, but lo and behold, I've just used my fingers. So, but if you are more comfortable using a spatula, then go ahead. So now, before I put in the yogurt and the water, I'm just gonna give this a bit of a mix with my hands. Okay, so what I've been doing is just kneading this dough before I add the remainder of the liquid because I'm trying to get all the lumps out. I think this will suffice for now. Okay, what I will do now is I'm going to add in the yogurt. This is 2 tablespoons of yogurt. And what I'm also going to add, what I have in this cup is, this is just regular water. This is half a cup of water. I just rinsed out my blender with it after I blended the fenugreek. I'm not going to put in the entire half a cup right away because your dough will get too soft. Start with maybe putting half of the half cup for now. Okay. And just using your hands, or if you have a mixer, then go for that too. Mix it in. Okay, so I finished making my dough, and as you can see, I actually ended up putting all the water I had there. So in the end, I used half a cup of water and 2 tablespoons of yogurt. That was the extent of the liquid that went in here. So now we're going to go over to the stove and actually make some paratha. The first step is to take some dough and form it into a ball, just like this. Then you need to douse the ball in some all-purpose flour. In this container, I just have all-purpose flour. then put it on what's called an adni. This you can get at the Indian store. It's a good surface to roll things on. If you can't get this, you can roll on your countertop too. That's fine. I'm going to roll it using the Indian version of a rolling pin. It's a lot thinner. Again, get it at the Indian store. If you can't, try using a regular one. See how it works out for you. So I'm just going to roll it, and I'm using a very light hand. If you press too hard, it'll end up sticking to the surface. So just very lightly. Once it gets to be about this size, I'm going to pick it up and I'm going to douse it in the flour again because it was starting to stick. Put it back on, and with a very light hand, just keep rolling it. And you want the weight to be evenly distributed over the entire thing. Don't worry about making it round. If you can, that's great. If you can't, that's good too. And if you feel it starting to stick, just take some flour and sprinkle it on. But try not to use too much, because if you use too much flour, then your paratha will become kind of dense. On my stove, I have a non-stick pan. I started it on high, but it's gotten quite hot, so I've turned it down to about medium. So I'm going to take this, just like that, drop it on the pan. And the idea is, if your pan is hot enough, it'll immediately start to bubble up a little bit. So you're going to let this side cook. I'm using my hands, but I also have a spatula here you can use to flip it. See, so this side has immediately cooked already, so I'm flipping it over to do the other side, because my stove is really hot actually. And don't let it cook too much or it'll get crispy. Now turn it over again. Now, I'm going to take this spatula and dip it in some oil. And just sprinkle some oil on top, very little. Now flip it over again and you're pressing the oil in, just very lightly. And just keep doing this for maybe 30 seconds. You're done. There's number one. Okay, so we're ready to do our presentation. Essentially all we kept doing was we kept just making the balls and rolling them out and making the paratha. I made 4, but I have a whole lot of dough left over, so I would just keep going and going and going. And you don't have to finish all the dough. You can also just store it in the fridge and do some more the next day if you'd like. So here's our paratha. These are best served with a cup of chai or Indian tea or pickle, and you can get this at the grocery store, Indian grocery store too, and a lot of English stores too. And that's about it. So I hope you've learned something and had a good time, and happy cooking.